Okay, so this is going to be a really brief, just short explanation of each of the 10 personality disorders. I'm not going to go super in depth, so make sure you're pairing this with the reading so you get a fuller picture of all the disorders. So we're going to start with paranoid personality disorder. This is a disorder where someone's characteristics are suspicious and they're blaming others and judging others. I think this one's an easier one to remember because it is what it sounds like. The person is paranoid and they're perceiving others attacking them, whether that's emotionally or physically or whatnot, but they're blaming and judging others. Okay, next we've got schizoid personality disorder, and I think this one is a little hard because of the word schizoid. I remember schizoid because it sounds like avoid. This is someone who avoids social interaction, not because they're afraid or basically they're just detached and they don't mind it. They prefer to be alone, and so they're just indifferent towards social situations. Then we've got schizotypal. I think schizotypal can be remembered because I think of it like, if I say to myself, schizotypal is kind of an interesting type of person. So if you say type of, that kind of helps me remember it. But this type is going to be one where they have just strange, interesting thoughts of the world that they might only have speech that they understand, and they're kind of in this mindset of maybe even a magical world, but just peculiar. They might have inappropriate behaviors because of their thoughts of being kind of in this different idea of what the world is like. And so they're just interesting and peculiar. Okay, so then we've got antisocial personality disorder. This person is not antisocial, meaning they don't like conversation. They're antisocial, meaning they're having bad behaviors. So this person lacks empathy, remorse. They are not going to have any feelings for other people as far as like feeling sorry or bad or even understanding how someone else feels or thinks. They might even be cunning and charming. This is often thought of to be the Ted Bundys, the Dennis Raders, and this is a well-studied and researched personality disorder. Often, and not always, but seen in someone who commits crime after crime after crime and not feeling the remorse or guilt from that crime. Okay, next we've got borderline personality disorder, and I think you can remember this if you think of borderline as someone who walks the line. They push and pull. They might have a affectionate or unloving type of behaviors. It's really characterized by a push and a pull of relationships. They might idealize someone and then turn around and devalue them, but it's kind of wrapped around this feeling of maybe frantically trying not to or trying to avoid being abandoned. They're going to have a really unstable mood. Typically, they might have lower feelings of self. They might make efforts or make threats of self-harm or suicide, but really the core of it is just this push and pull of love and hate and frantically trying to save a relationship, push away, pull back. So that is borderline personality disorder. Narcissistic personality disorder is just like it sounds. I think it's easy to remember, just like narcissism, just an elevated sense of self-importance, requiring lots of praise and admiration, just feeling very highly of oneself, so much so that it pushes others away. Okay, next is histrionic personality disorder. I can remember this one because I think of histrionic sounds like history, and oftentimes it's this intense desire and need for approval and attention. And so I think of going down in history, wanting to have that attention and that need, that extreme need for attention and approval. I think going down in history is how I remember that one. Okay, next we're going to avoidant personality disorder. This one is easily confused with schizoid personality disorder. And the way that you can separate them is someone who is an avoidant, they are kind of socially isolated, but they want to be a part of social situations. Whereas schizoid, they avoid because they don't care. Avoidant personality disorder, they fear rejection and they fear isolation. Okay, we're almost done. We got two more. So, dependent personality disorder is when a person is just psychologically dependent on others to make decisions in their daily life. They're not going to initiate things. They're going to want that approval, and they're going to look for others to make decisions for them, and they're just truly dependent on others. Finally, we've got OCPD, and in your reading, I think they called it Antisocial, which you don't need to remember that. You just need to call it OCPD, Obsessive Compulsive Personality Disorder. This is where it can be a little bit confusing differentiating OCD from OCPD. But the way I think of it as is OCPD, this is just strictly the person's personality type. As opposed to OCD is an intense anxiety disorder, where OCPD is the characteristics of the personality, where they're very rigid and very perfectionistic. This person, they're going to have all of the behaviors, the orderliness, being very rigid, very stubborn in certain ways, but they're not going to have the intrusive thoughts that are pushing forward the behaviors. Okay, those are all the personality disorders. I hope that just kind of clarified it from the reading. Feel free to send me an email if you have any questions. Make sure you answer the questions that follow this.